Cavalcade of Kings. James I, Episode 1. During the whole of Elizabeth's reign, the disturbing element in English politics had been the question of the succession to the throne. This was finally settled by the Queen on her deathbed when she proclaimed James VI of Scotland her heir and successor. In 1603, James ascended the throne of England, the first of the Stuart kings. He was the son of Mary, Queen of Scots, and Henry, Lord Darnley. When James ascended the English throne, he was well received by his subjects, but subsequently became unpopular by reason of his partiality towards favourites. His chief favourite at this time was Robert Carr, a cordially hated man. At the moment, we find King James and his wife, Anne of Denmark, discussing the odious Carr at the palace in London.
Robert Carr is but a parasite, a leek-spittle dog who fawns, flatters, and cajoles thee, James, into heaping honours and favours upon him. Not one particle of sincerity does the creature possess.
Man is unlikely to vent the spleen upon the head of anyone. And you do my dear friend Robert a grave injustice. He is a clever fellow, and worthy to bear the honours I have conferred upon him. Bacon, Cecil, Raleigh, Bath, they fail into insignificance beside the brilliance of Robert Carr. He is as the sun compared to the feeble twinkling of those obscure stars.
Have a care lest this sun of your own creation does not burn thee in the selfish fierceness of its rays.
You're determined in your antagonism towards my friend.
Friend? Robert Carr is no man's friend.
That's wrong, Anne. Carr dotes on me, and I return his affection.
An odious admission from such royal lips as thine. Oh, James, my husband, how can your heart hold one particle of affection for a man guilty of such baseness as Robert Carr?
What crime is he accused of now?
You know full well I'd refer to his wicked marriage with that shameless woman.
Now, you mean the beautiful Countess of Essex?
Yes, the she-devil who wanted to rid herself of her husband in order to marry Carr, and who caused their good friend Sir Thomas Overbury to be imprisoned because he refused to be a party to the murder of her husband.
It was regrettable that Overbury died in prison. His death was a mystery.
There was nothing mysterious in his death, James. It was brought about by the Countess. She poisoned him, and well you know it. And yet, with the full knowledge of her vileness and that of her accomplice, Robert Carr, you permit your favourite bishop to marry them publicly, with as much to do and rejoicings as if they had been the best man and woman upon the face of the earth.
And I had reasons, important reasons of state, for permitting the marriage.
Reasons of state? Ah.
And I tell
Stop.
you no.
I refuse to listen to your lies, for I know the truth. And the truth is that Robert Carr owes you in the hollow of his hand. You are afraid of him, for he knows your disgraceful secrets. Secrets which he threatened to divulge publicly unless you gave your approval to his marriage with the wanton of Essex.
And I beg of you not to conjure up imaginary evils when we have so many real ones in our midst. What with these cursed Puritans who plague me, and the obstinate Parliament which keeps me in a state of poverty, and a nagging wife. In God's name was ever a pure man worse afflicted?
James, I do not mean to nag, for I love you too well to occasion you one moment's discomfort.
Oh, Anne, my beloved, come to my arms. Thou art very sweet when love rules the heart in my lips.
It is because I love you so deeply that I venture to rouse your displeasure, James. Oh, my dear one, I implore you to rid yourself of the creatures who hang like leeches upon thee, sucking not thy blood, but thy self-respect and kingly dignity. You think Robert Carr, whom you have created Earl of Somerset, is your friend, but my woman's heart tells me that he is your bitterest enemy. He and his kind will ruin you and bring the glorious structure of the English nation into the foulest degradation and disgrace.
It would seem that I am surrounded by enemies. Intrigue upon intrigue is nurtured in their bosoms, and the recent plot originated by Raleigh and Cobham to place Arabella Stuart upon the English throne is the basest of them all.
Who accuses Raleigh of implicity in the affair?
Cecil.
My Lord Cecil is Raleigh's enemy, and as such may have been overzealous in his accusation.
Raleigh had a fair trial, and was convicted on the confession of his accomplice, my Lord Cumberland.
Wrung from him on the rack, I'll warrant. What has been done with Raleigh?
He was sentenced to death, but the execution has been deferred. He is at the moment a prisoner in the Tower. Cobham and 2 others were pardoned on the scaffold.
I find it hard to believe in Raleigh's guilt. He was so fine, so brave, so very, very handsome.
Ah, and he had a pretty taste in the matter of his raiment, which was the envy of every dandy at court. But fine linen often conceals a fool's skin.
You mentioned the Puritans but a moment ago. Is there aught amiss with them?
Oh, they are never satisfied. They ask to be allowed to leave out parts of the service, which they think is wrong to make use of. They're also unwilling to wear surplices, or to make the sign of the cross when they baptize children. They also refuse to allow a ring to be placed upon a bride's finger at a marriage.
But why?
Because they think all these things are superstitious. They want other changes made in the prayer book, and waited upon me at Hampton Court. But I sent them about their business.
But, James, the Puritans have a right, as has every man, to worship God in his own fashion.
Enough. Anne, this is one matter in which I shall not permit you to interfere. I have decided that there is to be only one form of religion, and all men shall be compelled to think and worship exactly alike, be they Puritan, Protestant, or Catholic. The kingdom has been tortured and tormented in the name of religion long enough. It is time an end was put to all this bickering argument, yea, and even bloodshed. And I tell you, I mean to do it.
Later, Parliament revived and strengthened the severe laws against the Catholic faith. This angered Robert Catesby, a restless Catholic gentleman of very old family, and he formed one of the most desperate and terrible designs ever conceived in the mind of man, namely the gunpowder plot. At the moment, we find him in company with Thomas Winter, Thomas Percy, and Guy Fawkes in an isolated house in the fields which were then near Clement's Inn.
My friends, we have but a moment ago taken the oath of secrecy on the Bible, and may any man of us who is false to his oath perish in the eternal fire of damnation.
Aye.
For want of a nail, the shoe is lost. For want of a shoe, the horse is lost. And for want of courage, man is lost. Think ye that you will have courage to do that which must be done in the cause of freedom?
We doubt my courage, Catesby.
Fawkes, I even doubt my own.
Dry shoes won't catch fish, Catesby.
Aye, that they won't, friend Winters. But plenty of caution hurts no man.
We waste time bandying words. Come, tell us your plan, Catesby.
As you will. First, I will tell thee what prompted my plan. We have suffered much at the hands of the detestable Scotsman who sits upon the throne of England.
That we have.
His favourite Robert Carr addresses the king as your sowship.
And rightly so. God, was ever there a more repulsive spectacle than James, with his tongue too large for his mouth, and his legs too weak for his rickety body, and his dull goggle eyes which stare and roll like an idiot.
His repulsive appearance could be forgiven him if he but tried to do his duty to his people.
But he hasn't. They have been sacrificed at every turn to satisfy the whims of James' latest favourite, and the exchequer has been drained to enable the king to shower wealth and favours upon the rotten carcasses of men such as Carr and Villiers.
Aye, the time has come when we must take matters into our own hands and rid the land of the weakling who rules it. Aye, and his ministers with him. Speak on, friend Catesby. Tell us your plan, and let us act upon it. I, for one, am ready and willing to die if necessary for our cause.
Then here is my plan. At the next opening of Parliament, when the King, the Lords, and the Commons are assembled, it is my intention of blowing them up, one and all. A great mine of gunpowder, which shall be secreted in a cellar beneath the Houses of Parliament.
In God's name, Catesby, the idea is a horrible one. We'll have the blood of dozens of men on our hands.
Percy, desperate ills must needs have desperate remedies.
Aye, that they must. No, the deed is not to our liking. We are too deeply involved now to draw back.
Then ye all agree?
Aye.
'Tis well.
Would seem there will be difficulty in secreting barrels of gunpowder beneath the house.
Nay, friend Percy, There is a house to let, the back of which joins Parliament House. We shall hire it and undermine the wall which separates the two buildings.
It will be a difficult task, Catesby. A tunnel many feet long will be necessary.
That is so, Winters.
'Tis the only way, friends, and the sooner we start our task, the better. For 'twill take us many weary weeks to accomplish our purpose. Weeks in which we shall live like moles in the darkness beneath the earth's surface.
That is so, Fawkes, my friend. But when the task is finished, we shall have struck the fetters of bondage from the people whose liberty of thought and freedom of speech will be restored to them. No longer will they be driven like sheep to worship God in the one pen, regardless of creed, custom, or of belief. James must be taught that religion is God's blessing to mankind, not an edict of Parliament to be enforced or appealed according to the whim of the immediate puppet who wears the crown of England.
Aye.
Come, my friends. Our work commences tonight. Before we set out on our various employments, let us mount the stairs to the garret above and receive the sacrament from Father Gerard. His blessing shall set our feet on the road to freedom.
God send that the gallows is not awaiting us at the end of it.